follow your passion. And when you do that, everything else is going to come. So that if you want a dose of business, that's how I've done it. And
Welcome to the Business After Hours, where the ties loosen, the suit relax, and we talk business without the boardroom. Grab your favorite drink, kick back, and let's dive into the world of business after hours.
All righty. Welcome back to the Business After Hours podcast here with my co-host Jared and our guest Matthew. How are you gentlemen doing today?
all's well here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see you're enjoying the wine already. A little jealous.
Because I think that's your vibe. And so I
It is
wanted
exactly
to kind of
our
be
vibe.
with that.
No,
What about you
it's
guys?
Perfect vibe.
Okay. Well, cheers, chin chin, and all that.
I can't let the man drink alone. So
I got you.
Thank you. What do we got there, Jeff?
We got some old fashioned.
Okay.
Nice
old fashioned for an old fashioned dude.
That's right. I love this. Is my drink right here. Cheers.
Okay.
I got vitamin
All
water.
right. So Matthew, tell us a little bit about yourself if you don't mind.
How about this? We turn that on its ear and you tell me what about me through my bio and other places have you found interest in that you would want to talk about?
I have seen your podcast on the YouTubes. And I think it was your Facebook, but it was like a bunch of cakes. Is that right? Is that yours?
No, I think that's someone else's.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I know that it's 50. Great, because you did a name play on it, and then I just forgot it like a moron.
50 Shades of Gray.
What?
Shades of Gray. 50 Shades of Gray.
Okay.
Nope. Actually, it's 50 Tastes of
Taste.
Gray.
That's what I thought. I knew it was a play on the words.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a punny guy.
I like it.
Thank you.
So food is your thing, it seems like.
Well, feeding, educating, and entertaining is my thing, to be more specific.
Okay.
It's the American way.
It really is. It's the only way to succeed and get ahead, right? Is to have good relationships with good people and eat well with them.
Isn't that weird how the American culture has formed that compared to the rest of the world, that we center everything around food and developing relationships around the food and the meal, which I feel I like it though.
Yeah, Jeff, I think that if you were to travel and explore other cultures, you'll see that dining or eating or breaking bread and doing it in a face-to-face manner with people you really dig or family or loved ones is something that you'll find in almost every country around the world.
All right.
I agree with that. In Germany, it was really common. Even when we went out to like a restaurant, they didn't. It was never rushed. So like they wouldn't come to you until you put your menu down, and then they that was your saying, okay, we're ready to order. And so there were certain cues that you had to give in order to interact, because they didn't want to interrupt your eating.
That's right, Jared. And as a matter of fact, when you're in Europe, which is a fantastic place to be, you have to kind of beckon them to come to your table to give you your bill at the end of the meal. They're not there like plunking it down halfway through, trying to turn the table and get you the hell out.
And here, if we have to wait too long for our bill, we get mad.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a completely different mindset when you travel around the world that is different than ours.
And so you're in Hawaii. How different is it Hawaii compared to the other 50 states?
Oh, Hawaii
49.
is it's a major shift on a lot of different levels. It's very Asian here, and so it's almost like a different world or a different country in a way. So coming over here, there's a bit of that time that you're going to have to spend getting used to it. But it's a great place to be if you really dig the island scene and the beautiful people in the water and all of that. So it's just I think the only downside to Hawaii is that it's a great place to visit. It's a tough place to live.
I've heard.
If you're not native, is what I've definitely heard. Is that it's a very different. Because obviously being in the military, we have a couple bases there, and that's usually the biggest complaint is the fact that they just the natives are very native. Is I guess the best way to put it.
Well, they're protective over their land because the white men took their nation and made it their own, and that kind of thing, and moved in our military. So I can understand a little bit of the feelings that are
Oh, sure.
going on, and it's difficult to incorporate yourself into a new environment. But when you find people that you like and that you can go out and have fun with and understand and communicate with, it's a much better experience.
Now,
So what
have you had a chance to go up to like Alaska and experience how they are up there?
I have not been to Alaska. Are you talking about the Hawaii Alaska connection?
Yeah, so I was actually stationed in Alaska, and it was very common that people would go from Hawaii to Alaska. But to be honest, they're the natives there don't tend to be as hostile. I don't, maybe hostile is probably a bad word to use, but they're a little bit more welcoming. Um, it seemed like.
Everybody is kind of part of a tribe, right, guys? And
right.
when new people come in, there's kind of like this getting to know you period of time to where before you do that, people might be somewhat hostile or standoffish. But usually you find when you get down and you do a conversation, a face to face with people, that they'll settle down and you can kind of be able to get along, maybe become friends too.
Sure.
Absolutely.
So what led you down the path of 50 Tastes of Gray?
Well, 50 Tastes of Grey is just kind of an extension of my entire life. It is a show that I love to speak to stimulating and engaging people and folks from my past and YouTube celebrities and stars and things like that. We talk about food, of course, very food forward, psychology, society and culture, and things along those lines. Usually it's a fun, engaging conversation. There's a lot to learn and there's a lot to laugh
That's
at
fun to
as
watch.
well. So I'm having a good time with it, and been doing that for a year or two now. And it's just kind of like where I'm at now. It's a passion project. It's not something I'm putting together as a business. I have no desire necessarily, or drive, or ambition to monetize it. If it happens, great, but that's not really where I'm at. I've already done most of my career in the past.
Sure. And so when it comes to podcasting, what advice would you give to somebody that's thinking about a podcast, or just kind of just starting?
Don't go into it for the money. Number one rule. And number two rule is just have fun with it, and try to educate people if you can, or entertain them if you can, and then learn as much as you can about editing. So, for instance, you guys are on a platform that does some of your editing for you, right?
Hmm.
What? No,
Absolutely.
we just download the whole thing and then we edit
No,
it ourselves.
we do some editing. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. So that's a really important factor, as you know, is like learning a little bit of the audio and the video editing. And I can see when I take a look at my stuff, and I've been in talk radio since the 80s. uh, Podcasting, YouTube is completely different because you have to rely upon your own editing. And so that's something that I think people should devote a lot of time to.
Yeah,
Struggle.
it's definitely a struggle.
Yeah, oh,
Because
yeah. Yeah.
if
Yeah,
you want to,
especially if you have no. Yeah,
because
go
the
ahead.
YouTube algorithm is very strong and hard, to because there's all these steps that you have to do, and they all have to align in order for anything to get pushed. Um, and so it's a very frustrating thing at first for anybody that starts out on YouTube or even on the podcast platforms as well. That it's a very slow start because it's hard to get into that algorithm with
It's
YouTube.
so it's so true. I mean, it's frustrating because you want engagement. You want people to
Right.
talk to you, to leave you messages, to make comments and things like that, so you can start to build it up. And so, don't let that get you down, because eventually it'll kind of creep up and so on. But the fact of the matter is that if you're happy doing it and it's a passion project, the followers will come. Eventually, the money can come, and things like that. Nothing I've gone into in my entire past, and I've had a lot of very successful ventures and a handful of not so successful ventures. The
Right.
ones that are right will find their way in the marketplace.
Yeah,
I
I feel
agree.
like
Yeah.
I feel like Joe Rogan kind of ruined it when he got that $100 million podcast deal. And everybody
Yeah.
thinks, oh, just talk. That's all I got to do. That's easy.
Mm.
Well, it's something to aspire to for
Correct.
people who enjoy being a ham or communicative through conversation and things like that. So maybe he's inspired some people.
I hope
That's
so.
what
I mean,
I'm sure.
because I feel like that's they've been saying it for a while now. That I mean, that was a crucial thing in the election, obviously, with podcasting, and they're saying that more people are watching podcasts to get information than they are legacy media as well now.
Right. Apparently, legacy media and all of that is kind of fading in the marketplace, which is also, in and of itself, that's kind of an issue, maybe a problem as
Sure.
well.
No,
Yeah.
I can see where it could be good, and I can see where it's very
And
could be dangerous too at the same time.
Right.
So
You know,
what other business adventures have you been into?
well, going back to high school, I went on the road with the Eagles on their
oh
Hotel
wow.
California tour and then went out with Fleetwood Mac and Pink Floyd. So I was in a merchandising capacity with those bands, and I was like leading the life, the drug, sex, and rock and roll thing. I was a teenage
Uh-huh.
kid. All of my friends who were back home in LA at that time were getting jobs at McDonald's, and I was out on the road with the rock and rollers doing merchandise.
Wow.
So I got
That's
I got to
awesome.
really live a life and experience a lot. And I had 1,000 concerts under my belt at this point, and so I did merchandising. And then after that, I went to London to go to culinary arts school. And I did that and then came back to Los Angeles and started chefing for a lot of the rock and roll people and the Hollywood stars. So my life was really kind of colorful way back then, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Yeah.
And so everything in my life has been kind of based around, once again, feeding, educating, and entertaining people, taking care of them through food, and being the people pleaser I am. That's kind of what I've done my entire life.
So with that, does that mean that I'm assuming that you have friends that are still in LA that are kind of dealing with these fires and everything?
Oh yeah, everybody I grew up with, because I was in Los Angeles for a long time up until '93. So I did junior high and high school there. And so, yeah, a bunch of my people are all over there. So, yeah, it's a terrible thing that's going on right now
Yeah,
for sure.
absolutely,
I mean, and it
absolutely.
wasn't too long ago it was happening in your state in Hawaii.
Yeah, yeah, the Maui fires were really tragic, but
Mm.
you know, it's kind of a strange thing. I was just reading some articles today, and they were talking about the wildfires. They're treated with this flame retardant, that
Mhm.
pink stuff that they dump on the fires.
Right.
It's kind of a dilemma in a way, because that pink fire retardant is full of heavy chemicals and heavy metals and things like that that can damage people's health to a large
Mhm.
degree. But how do you fight a fire without a flame retardant, right? And so they've got a lot of issues going on there. And then, this seems to happen every year. We get fires of one sort or another in the California area.
How's Hawaii doing?
Since the fire, or just
Yeah.
overall?
Yeah, their recovery.
Well,
Because we
you
don't hear
know,
anything over here in the 49 states of anything about Hawaii.
Um,
since the COVID shit show, it's been a difficult kind of recovery. My business, called Hawaii Food Tours, was a very successful enterprise.
Remember?
I see, Jeff, you kind of like
Yes.
remember that.
Yes.
Um, I opened that up in 2004, and that was a way for me to be able to feed people and educate people and entertain people. Here we go with that same thing over and over, that same theme for me. But people who are visiting Hawaii are always curious about the culture and the architecture and the food. And so I was there
Absolutely.
to take them out, and we did that from 2004 to 2020. So a
Wow.
16-year, super fantastic and successful business. I got to be with people like you every day, and it was just a magnificent experience. So since 2020, though, it's been very difficult because a lot of businesses went out of business. People stopped coming for a while. And so the whole transition back to normalcy has been a long and arduous one. Hopefully, we'll get there sometime soon.
Are
So
you
are
gonna
you?
start back up?
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I decided to kind of like hang up my shoes
Okay.
and move on, because it was already 2 years into it. Like by 2022, and we still weren't operating. I just said, okay, I'm going to get into some other things,
Now,
and yeah.
now, without being too personal, like what decision made you go, I'm done, rather than to keep holding on, because I know there was a lot of people that did hold on for a while,
Mhm.
hoping for a recovery. So what was it that made that turning point for you?
You know, I'm happy if you guys do get personal with me, just so you know, Jared. So we don't have to avoid that. The reason I decided not to do the business anymore was because I was just kind of burnt out and still afraid, and people weren't getting together in groups, and restaurants have changed, and just that whole uh, intimacy factor had really, really
Right.
changed, and I was just kind of burnt out on the whole thing and wanted to move on with my life, and so I had a great 16-year run,
Mhm.
and I wish to God that the COVID thing never happened, but it did. So eventually, after suffering my own anxiety and depression, I said I better do something else. I wrote a book called The Ultimate Eater's Guide to Hawaii, and started doing the podcast here. And now I'm helping people also with their metabolic health. So
Hmm.
people who are wanting to lose weight or reverse their type 2 diabetes and things like that, I help people kind of get it together with their diet and their health.
So with the health, and not to get too political, but obviously we know with RFK already announcing some of his plans that he wants to get rid of high fructose corn syrup and some other additives, obviously that we know is causing us harm. So surely, obviously, your business that should help you or cost you
Him
business.
he's a bit of a kook, but he's right on in some places as far as that is concerned. But the marketplace doesn't necessarily change because of legislation that has taken place. So what you really need is somebody you can identify with and someone who's been through the wars, who can help you. So I think everybody needs a little bit of a helping hand when it comes to choosing the right foods and getting healthy. And guys, half of our audience right now is either obese on their way to being there, or have type 2 diabetes, and that's
Hmm.
huge factor,
It
and
is.
it's really out of control right now all over the world, obesity and diabetes. But diabetes is a game changer as far as life, and you don't want that because it'll kill you in the end, in the long run. So I'm really, really kind of putting my foot down and trying to help people, even, you know, friends and family. I let them know, you really might not want to eat that, and here's a better way to go. So every little bit helps. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Is that just cutting food out, or is it like what kind of do you provide meal plans? Do you provide exercise plans too, or yeah?
I do everything related to food and diet. Exercise is something that is really vital and important, but I don't create exercise plans for people because the most important aspect of our health is the food that we eat, because that's the biggest drug that we're putting into our system on a daily basis. So in short, I suggest that people, if they have any inflammation, or if they have type 2, or if they want to lose weight, if you cut down on carbs, you will get there. And so I'm kind of like a coach to people after I tell them what you can eat, what you can't eat. And if they need recipes, I give them that as well.
Yeah, well, I had lost about 80 pounds on the carnivore diet.
Good for you. Carnivore is what I'm doing presently.
Yeah,
We
and
both
I,
just started it. Yeah.
I took
So
some time off of it for a long time and gained some weight back, but been on it. We started back up on Monday. My wife and I, and I'm down 8 pounds this week, and it's it's easy. That's that like I've tried all these other diets. I've tried the calorie deficit. I've tried the balanced meals. I've tried all these other things, but for me at least, that carnivore diet is the most simple, to the point diet that I've ever had, because you don't count calories. You just eat meat and eggs
That's
and
so
bacon.
true.
I mean,
Right on, Jeff. I think that reducing the complexity and the complicated aspects of dieting is what really is a hurdle for so many people.
right.
But if you go onto the carnivore and you do the meat and the eggs and a little bit of avocado and the bacon and things like that, you're going to be doing fine. And have you noticed that when you're on carnivore, that you're much more clear in the
Oh
head
yeah,
and you have much greater energy and you really don't feel that hungry?
right. It's a weird concept, and thanks to social media too. Like there's people that you can bake a whole loaf of bread off of carnivore with just
Right.
panko crumbs, eggs, and one other ingredient. But
cottage cheese.
Cottage cheese, yeah.
I I made cloud bread last night. I made a
Oh, I heard about that.
keto pizza, but no panko
We've
crumbs
done the
because
keto. uh, We did the
sorry?
keto pizza. I said we did the keto pizza, and it was really, really good. Which
Yeah.
you could almost argue that it would be a carnival because it's just really egg. It's like an egg breading is what they did
Yeah.
instead of
It
so
it's only a few ingredients. It's
yeah.
whipped egg whites and then egg yolks, cream cheese, cottage cheese, and the whipped egg yolks allow it to give it some body and some rise. And so it looks like a crust when you bake it for a pizza crust, but it's more like a browned omelet, is what it kind of feels like in your mouth. Very cloud-like is a
Like
good word for it.
the breakfast pizzas. That's what it tastes
Mhm.
like a breakfast pizza where it's got the egg, and so yeah, that's probably better without the breakfast sausage, or you could put breakfast sausage, but
Oh yeah.
um,
Oh yeah. Hey, meat
but
meat is great. There's a doctor named Dr. Berry who's a big YouTube guy, and he's a proponent of no carb diets and keto and carnivore and so on. And he said, don't worry about what kind of meat you're eating, even if it's sausage or a McDonald's burger patty plain. It's okay. You don't have to be eating T-bones and high-end stuff. Just as long as you're eating meat, you're going to recognize health benefits from that.
Yeah, just not the McDonald's meat.
He eats McDonald's patties plain.
Oh,
So
I guess
he claims that that's just totally fine because it is 100%
it
ground
is,
beef.
I guess.
Just
or is
don't
it
Well,
eat.
something like a
I
burger
we
sitting there? I just
we think it's beef.
right. It doesn't mold though. That's the problem. Like it doesn't break down, and that's when I'm like, I'm good.
I think what they've noticed, the worst parts of the McDonald's menu, for those of you who are interested, is the seed oils, the terrible seed oils that they're frying their French fries in and that they put in their buns for their hamburgers. So my recommendation is if you can't break your McDonald's habit, just have a plain patty. Don't eat anything else.
The
Yeah.
problem is that their French fries are one of the best things. There's something
I
about having
know.
nice warm French fries. I don't know when I'm sick, like a nice warm French fries, it helps settle the stomach.
I haven't eaten McDonald's in like 20 years.
See,
I
Yeah.
refuse.
same
I will
here.
starve before I eat McDonald's of
Jeff
any.
and Jared, you guys are truly romantic about your food pursuits. I can see this.
Yes, it's our
Yeah,
father.
I was just say we grew up with a food addict, so
Yeah,
he,
Are
our
you
our
guys
dad can tell
brothers?
you what.
we are.
Yes,
Ah,
our our dad can tell you what exit, in the middle of nowhere to find the best restaurants are, regardless of where you are in the country. You
Same in a
know,
hotel or apartment or airports. He can do it too. And I'm like,
Yeah.
whatever, man.
he
Hey,
he sounds like a person that I've been my entire life. I was the restaurant reviewer for Hawaii's largest newspaper for a handful of
oh
years,
yeah, I
and
would.
Mhm.
that was great. It was the best job in the world. Being paid to eat while living in Hawaii was a pretty cool job,
Heck yeah.
and so, but that's the job that I left to create my Hawaii food tours business. And so, yeah, I went from one great job to an experimental food tour company, and it worked out for me. It was a good move.
What a leap, huh?
Yeah, it was a great leap. Everyone said, and at that time there was only one food tour company in the country, and I thought I'm going to open up a food tour company here in Hawaii. And people said to me, "You're going to leave being the restaurant reviewer for the paper to go start up a business no one's ever heard of?" And I said, "Yeah, that's what I wanted to do." And so it just, knock wood,
Well,
it really worked. And people have a good thing. There are thousands of reviews online about Hawaii food tours of our guests who came over the years. And so
Awesome.
it was a great experience doing that. The whole
what
food thing is so important.
what made you stop listening to people and make the jump? Because I think that's some people's biggest problem is they've got
Right.
critics that are not really there to help them.
Right. That's a great question. And I guess it's because I just wasn't built that way. I didn't take advice my entire life. I always kind of wanted to make my own step into the marketplace. And so I've done a whole bunch of different businesses. Like I said earlier, a handful of them have been very successful and a handful of them not so much. But I just couldn't listen to people because you know what happens? A lot of times those bits of advice, and maybe loving advice even, kind of slow you down, and they're kind
Right.
of like speed bumps on your road in life. And so I just decided to follow my own path and only take advice from a handful of select people who I really knew I could kind of vibe with and understand and believe.
There's many people that will give advice out of jealousy rather
Right.
than,
That's very true.
so
That's
It
extremely true.
when someone stops you and they say, "Hey, you know what you should do?" When I hear that phrase, I just freak out.
Mm, I agree with that statement.
I was just grabbing your YouTube link because I want to make
Oh,
sure
okay.
that we hit up on your YouTube for your folks.
Oh,
Uh,
very cool. It's a fun
yeah.
show. It's long form though. So guys and girls, if you're expecting like shorts and so on, I do a lot of those as well, but my show primarily is long form like this, where I get to speak and really get to reveal the inner personalities of the people who are on my show.
Well, why don't we close with you telling us what can people expect when they come to your show?
Well, hopefully entertainment and seeing what it's like old world style. Like I said, I'm an old guy doing a new platform and having a lot of fun with it. So yeah, come to the show, check it out. If you want the book on where to eat here in Hawaii, you can contact me. You can go to hawaiifoodtours.com and pick up my Ultimate Eaters Guide if you want. But I wasn't on here today to pitch anything. I just
It's
wanted to have
okay.
a good time with you guys.
Sure, we want to help though, and
Thank you.
and help in any way we can, and return the favor. So, I hope you get some visitors from us to come over to you and help grow it. I know you're not looking to monetize it, but we'd still like to get you some more viewers.
I wouldn't turn it down. It's just that I'm not pursuing it. You know what I
Correct,
mean?
correct. I
Yeah,
know exactly
absolutely.
what you mean. Well, Jared, you got anything else?
No,
So,
it was great having you
yeah,
on. Obviously, we always love talking food, so
yeah.
it's a good day when we're
That
talking
really
food.
wasn't
Fantastic.
like business related, but it is if you center your business around some food and or deals or negotiations around food and have those there. I think you're onto something on that for sure.
Follow your passion. And when you do that, everything else is going to come. So that if you want a dose of business, that's how I've done it and been pretty successful with it. So I would suggest that anybody just does that too. Look inside, find something that you're passionate about and do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, I
Well,
agree.
Matthew, thank you for coming on. You guys go and visit 50 Tastes of Gray on YouTube. Check out his podcast. Give him a subscribe. Watch some of his videos. Hopefully, we can get you some more subscribers for you.
Thank you, Jeff and Jared. It was
Absolutely.
really nice
Yeah.
being here with you today.
Absolutely, Matthew. You have a wonderful day.
Take care. Aloha.
Aloha.
Welcome to the Business After Hours, where the ties loosen, the suit relax, and we talk business without the boardroom. Grab your favorite drink, kick back, and let's dive into the world of business after hours.